Hello traders, how are you doing? This is a quick video for some analysis and update on Bitcoin, and this is following the video which I recorded yesterday on 8th of August 2024, where basically I analyzed the total market cap, and I did share everything in my mind about total market cap, what should we wait for, what to expect next. And in this video, I'm going to basically, talk about Bitcoin, BTC. But I would highly recommend you, if you didn't watch the video from yesterday, please go and watch it. You can find it on YouTube, in El Tajer account or channel. You can find it on Instagram, available as well. You can find it on LinkedIn. You can find it as well on El Tajer website for the free and paid memberships. Okay, but it's very important to watch it so you understand what I'm going to talk about in this video for BTC, as basically it's somehow connected together. So, just in a nutshell, if we talk about the total market cap, I did talk about it from weekly market analysis, from weekly time frame point of view. And I did say we might see some basically retracement to this point here, or a little bit higher, or here, or even to test the last lower high before we might see a 50% drop in the total market cap. And I do believe that this year we might see it visiting the $1 trillion area, while right now it is around $2.08 trillion. And I did say also on daily time frame, basically we can see that the price broke below the last lower low, where we could see a very nice support at least for 4 days in a row, and it came to retest it on Wednesday, and yesterday, Thursday, we could see a strong break above this zone, and it will be very important to see how the weekly candle is going to close for this week. What do I mean by that? Is it going to close? Let me put this on weekly time frame as well. Is it going to close basically below this support zone here? If yes, I do believe that we will see the decline to the downside soon. If the weekly candle is going to close above this zone here, above this zone here, I believe we might see this scenario happening, that the price will drop to the downside here, maybe to retest, and then move to the upside, and then from here we might see the drop to the downside. Okay, so basically here we have scenario number 1, and here we have scenario number 2. Now let's move to BTC. If you remember, I recorded a video back in, it was 20th of July, when the price was somewhere here. Yeah, it was basically here. And I did say from this point here, very similar to the total market cap, from this zone here, we will see a drop to the downside. And I did say we have a couple of reasons. Number one, the market structure. We have lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And I said potentially here we will see the lower high and then the price will move to the downside. And that's why even you can see that I have this from the video which I recorded back on 20th of July, that here we have scenario number 2 and here scenario number 1. And I did say from this zone here, we might see drop to the downside, or we might see price break above, come to test, and then move to the upside. And basically we could see that scenario number 1 played to the point. As you can see from here, we started to see a massive drop, and the price almost came to the point which I pointed. Now let's remove these scenarios and let's talk about the new scenarios which we do expect. Very similar to total market cap. So here is basically the last lower low on weekly time frame, and always remember, the higher the time frame, the stronger it is. Okay, so we need to see how this weekly time frame is going to close. Okay, is it going to close above here? So I would say I would expect another push to the upside to create another, let's say, hope for everyone out there saying that, okay, crypto market is going to boom, and then from here we will see the price to move to the downside. But so far, still the price is respecting the market structure, which is lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. This one we cannot call it lower high because so far price didn't create a lower low. And from market structure point of view, we can call lower high in this perspective only if the price confirmed a lower low afterwards. And this is the last lower low. So this is potential lower high, but it's not the last lower high. Okay? As far as the price on weekly time frame didn't create a lower low, and here I talk about the body of the candle, so therefore this we cannot call it a lower, we cannot call it basically a lower high, and this one will be exactly the lower high. Okay, this is very important, guys. So keeping that in mind, what do we see so far on weekly time frame? Price is actually showing some rejection from this zone, but let's go to the daily time frame and see what is happening. So again, so on daily time frame, what do we see, guys? We see that here we had support, price broke below, came to retest it and shows some strong rejection as a resistance. On Tuesday, on Wednesday, and on Thursday we could see the price breaking above, and then, you know, right now the price is here. If also you watched the video, which as I said, I recorded on 20th of July, I had this zone on daily time frame and the price was somewhere here and it was exactly at this point. Okay, that was, I'm sorry, as a follow-up on the video which I made on 20th of July, and I believe there is some post about it on El Tajer account on Instagram. I said this zone is a very strong zone as a resistance and support on daily time frame. And I said if the price will break below, I do expect some retest before the price moving to the downside. And that was the arrows which I put for this scenario. And so far, when the price broke below, it didn't come to retest this zone. So maybe this is a time where the price is going to retest this zone. Let's remove this one. And let's also just move this one here. And let's talk more about this zone. So this zone is quite strong one. As we can see, support, price broke below, here resistance, 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 price broke, support, 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 price broke below, and so far didn't come to retest as resistance. Also, if we will look at it from or with Fibonacci, so we can see that this zone somewhere is kind of like falling between the 61.8 and 78.6. And actually, I would even extend this zone a little bit that way. And I would say that the price most probably will come to basically, you know, retest this zone. And to be honest, I would love to see this scenario because it will even give more confirmation to the scenario which I basically talked about. So the price broke here and right now is coming to retest, and from here we might see price moving to the downside. Okay, so this is very, very, very important to keep in mind. And also, you know, I did talk about it in details, like, you know, on 20th of July, and also as a follow-up video, I believe, I don't remember when it was exactly, but you can find it basically on my social media. Last, let's look at it from monthly time frame. From monthly time frame, let's just remove this from monthly time frame, so to make it clearer, so we basically don't have to be, you know, annoyed with this. Okay, so what do we see here? What do we see? That we have kind of a range is forming here, very, very, very similar to the total market cap, and I talked about that yesterday. So let's just put it as a range. Okay, and yeah, so we have this range here, as we can see, where is the price, just like this range started on March 2024. So March, April, May, June, July, and like for all these 5 months, like the price was just here, and very similar to the total market cap. When you see this amount of wicks here, that shows how, like, how much liquidity we have down here and the amount of stop losses we have here. So you can imagine that there are a lot of stop losses somewhere here. And what the price did from market psychology point of view, the price came right now, liquidated and collected all these stop losses, and then got back to the range again. So that's why we need to see how the monthly time frame is going to close. But for the monthly time frame, we still have around 21, 22 days from now. So it's too early, and a lot of things can happen during this time. But it's always good to see, like, what is happening in this scenario. And also, we can see that this zone is quite strong zone here, and this zone is, I would say it's a monthly zone. Let me just put it as a monthly zone. Sorry. Yeah, so it's a monthly zone. Why? Because we can see that this zone was also holding as, resistance, support, resistance, here resistance, price broke above, and so far was so close to retest it as a support. So this zone is quite interesting zone for the price to retest. Second is also we have this zone here where also we can see support, 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 price broke below, came to retest resistance, 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 price broke above, and so far didn't come to retest as support. So for me, this zone, which is between $30,000 to $33,000 per Bitcoin, is still an open zone for retest. That's number one. Number two, which is very, very, very similar to also total market cap. Like if we will draw a trend line, okay, so we have basically here the first touch of the trend line. Here we have the second touch of the trend line. Okay, and so far, there is a potential for third touch of the trend line. And if we will use Fibonacci from here, from the second touch up to the top, okay, we can see that we have this zone here, which is again falling between the 61.8, the golden ratio of Fibonacci, and 78.6. So this zone is kind of an open target for the price to come and retest, The point is that we need to see how the weekly candle is going to close, this weekly candle, and how the monthly candle is going to close. Okay, but that doesn't basically diminish or belittle the opportunity or the chance or the probability that we might see Bitcoin coming down to this zone. And this is very well connected with the total market cap and what I discussed yesterday. Okay, and basically same stories. We have monthly zone, as you can see, we have two monthly zones, similar, like we have trend line, first touch, second touch, and then we have a range here. If you will use Fibonacci from here to here, you will see that this zone is basically aligning here nicely with the 78.6, and it's also a broken resistance, not retested as a support so far, unlike this one. And you can see how these zones are strong. Here resistance, support, blah, 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 resistance, resistance, price broke above, and so far here came this week to retest it as support. So these zones are very, very strong. Same story, we can just like put it here as, prospect monthly. Same story, we can just put it same way. So these zones, I would say, have a very high potential for the price basically to come to it. But as I told you, it all depends on the weekly candle time frame. Is the weekly candle going basically, sorry, let me just go here. Okay, and okay, too many of them. Okay, this one we don't need it right now. Okay, so on daily time frame, we have our Fibonacci from the top to the very bottom. And as you see, guys, like even if we look at this, you know, so let me just put it somewhere here. So if this scenario which I talked about here is going to play, so the price broke below this zone, coming to retest this zone, and then from here to drop to the downside. So we have the Fibonacci extension, which is actually not far away from, you know, from first zone, which is here, the monthly one, which is not so far retested properly, okay? And then if the price will come here, I would say that we have a higher potential for the price to move even to the downside, okay? But once again, it all depends on how, let me put it that way, on how the weekly candle is going to close this week. If it's going to close below here, so then I would expect next week we might see some retest and then move to the downside. Or if it's going to close above here, so then I would expect that we might see a further retracement and then maybe the price to move to the downside. And as I said, remember, from market structure point of view, price might retrace from here, here, or even come all the way up to retest the last lower high and then move to the downside, okay? Unless if the price on weekly time frame will close with the body of the candle above this level, so then our bias will be completely changed, and then it will be basically an opportunity for price to move to the upside. In general, I personally don't trade Bitcoin at all because it doesn't meet my investing criteria. I'm more into smaller projects but promising ones like conversions, ETP, Tilcoin, Luna, etc. And I already started التاجر crypto blueprint, and this is a series, a free series of 15 episodes. On each episode I will talk about one of the coins which I personally invest in, what are the zones which I'm buying from, and what zones I'm going to sell at. And I call this series as a more like, you know, affordable investments with a very high probability of returns, because for each of these tokens which I invest in, it's basically I invest $100, but there is a high probability that, like, you know, worst case scenario, you will lose this $100. Second worst case scenario, you will win $700, and it can be even more. So it's more like, you know, affordable investments, I would say. So yeah, that's all guys for the BTC. I hope you like this video, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Cheers.